Assalamu alaikum. This is lecture 20 of web design and development, and in this lecture I am going to discuss about connectivity of database with your PHP Laravel web application. In this lecture I will start with the overview of the model and the database that we are going to use in this example, and then the example of database connectivity will be shown afterwards. So to identify the entities in the model, in this lecture we have taken an example of a simple bank interest model, and in this example we only have a one entity name as account detail, and it will have the fields of bank name, amount, and the country of the bank. And the database is connected to the application using the Eloquent data model. And the controller we are going to use in this application is a basic create, read, update, and delete controller, referred as CRUD application. So to set up the application, the first thing you have to do is to create a new Laravel project, and you can refer to the startup lecture in which we have discussed about creating a new Laravel setup using the Composer application dependency manager of the PHP. So you can create the new Laravel project using the Laravel new and specifying the project name using your command prompt, and this will create a new Laravel project on your desired location. And the typical location to create a Laravel application is c/xampp, or any other server you are going to use /htdocs. So next you have to load the XAMPP control panel and run the Apache server and the database engine for the application. Then there are two steps that you have to do to actually make your application running. The first step is to copy the .htaccess file from the public directory and paste it to the home directory of your application. The second step is to copy index.php file from the directory of public folder and again paste it to the home directory of your application. Then you have to open this file and edit the paths values, and you have to remove the additional slashes from each of the paths specified in the index.php file. So you actually changing the path from the public folder to the home directory. Then you can load the application in the browser using the name of the application and the port specified by the Apache server. So typically Apache server runs on the local host on the IP address of 127.0.0, and it is typically listening to port 8080. And in this example case we have named the example project as sample app. So you can write the name of your app or project that you have created at this place to run up your starting application. Once the things are done at this stage, the next step is to create a new database called bank app, for example in this scenario using the MySQL admin. So again you can use the localhost server for phpMyAdmin, and you go to the same directory of the localhost 127.0.1 slash dot 8080 slash the name of your PHP server. So typically PHP server is accessible on the port 4403, I guess, or 4433. So you can access or find out about the port of the PHP MySQL from the Apache control or XAMPP control panel. So once you are able to load the PHP MySQL in your browser, or you can even load the MySQL from the command prompt using the command MySQL. So you have to create the new database and you can name it, for example, bank app or any other name you want to use. Then uh, you have to set out the database preferences in two locations. The first location is .env file, which is located at the home directory, and the next file is database.php file, which is located on the configuration slash database.php location. So in both cases, you have to specify the predefined values. For example, if in the environment file, you must have the value host and it is assigned to the local host or any other. So you can reset it to localhost for this application. Specify the name of the database. For example, in this case, we have the database name as bank app, and then there's a username. In this case, we do not have a particular user, so we are using the root user with no password, and that will be all to set both files. The next step is to create a model that will be mapped to our database. So simplest way is to create a model in your application directory named as app folder. So you create a PHP file and your code should look like this. So again, it is using another file app/user, and it is using the model eloquent model which we specified in the slide number 4. So you have a class called bank interest in this case, and it extends the model of the eloquent, and we have some fillable properties that we have to fill in the database. The first property is the name of the bank, the amount of the in the bank, and the country of the bank, and the user associated to create the new interest or a bank account. And then we have a boot function which will also only call the user ID when you are creating a new bank interest. It will assign a user ID as a authorized user's currently logged in user ID, and this interest belongs to the user. That means this is related to the user and no other party can create this model unless that party is a user of our application. So then you have to migrate these changes from the application to the database. So you can look up into the database folder slash migrations folder. There will be number of migration, and you can add the following code in the up method of a migration, and you can name the migration similar to the name of the table. For example, in this case, we have a convention to create bank interests table which extends the migration. The name of our model was bank interest, and we are creating the table of the bank interest in the MySQL database server. So rest of the things are same as we discussed in the migrations lecture. We have specified the name of the table, that is bank underscore interest, and then we have specified the primary ID as big integers. Then we have a name of the bank as a string and the amount as number. Again, the country is string and integer as a user ID, and then the timestamps to record when the edit or insertion has been performed on the entity. And if you want to run the down migration, you can delete the table if it exists already in the MySQL server. So you can run the PHP artisan migrate command after creating a migration, and this migration will be transferred to the MySQL server. So you can add few values manually into the system to actually view the database working in PHP MySQL admin. Now when the model and the database is set, the next step is to route your application from the user to the model. So for the moment we use the resource directory to create the basic functions to handle the bank interest, and we have specified one route in the root slash web.php file, and the root states that it is a resource root, and we have the name of the root as interest, and we have specified the controller bank interest controller. So the next step is to create the new controller in the controllers directory. So you can do it by writing the command php artisan make controller, and the name of the controller is bank interest controller, and it will be a resource controller which will be specified by double hyphen resource attribute. Once a controller is created, you can add a method in the controller named as indexed method. If you have created the controller as a resource, the method will be predefined. So the controller will also have more predefined resource methods to handle the requests. So the index will be the first method, and which will display the interests from the database. So you can use this simple command to fetch all the values into the from the interest table from the SQL to your application. So you can use the bank interest colon double colon all facade to actually access all the values from the bank interest table, and then you can count the total amount from each of the directory, and you can you can perform a for loop to sum up these values into a total amount variable, and you return a view after fetching the data, and the name of the view is interest, and you compact the interest with two variables. The first is interest, which have the collection of all the values from the database, and the total amount is the value of or sum of the total amounts in each record in the database. So this can be loaded to the web page using a view, and the name of the view we have specified is the interest. So you can create a new view into the resources slash views folder, and the name the view as interest.blade.php. So we have specified some HTML and CSS code here. So we have a heading which states that we have a bank interest showing here. Then we have a hyperlink which says you can add a new interest, and it is a model dialog. That means when you click on this, a model will be opened into the same window. The next layout is a table which has the headers as bank amount, country, and actions. So then when you get the number of uh, variables from the controller to the view, you can access it using the for else. For example, in this case we have sent a collection of uh, interests from the controller to the view, so we can loop these interests, and for each interest we display the name of the bank, amount, and country, and then we list a user that you can delete this uh, record, or you can edit this record to perform the edit functions. And finally, you displayed the total amount to the final column, the footer of the table. And here's the model definition, which will contain the three text boxes to specify the name of the bank, the amount, and the country. So you can load the app by specifying the route that you have listed in the root slash web.php, and you can write this route into the web browser and access the location of application from the browser. So if there is a form error, you can put the following classes into the PHP app.php, into the configuration folder. So here are the two files that you have to put into the aliases location into the app.php file into the configuration folder, and then add the following into the providers collection into the same file stored at the same location. And then you can paste the Laravel collective folder into the vendors if you have a Laravel working application with the forms. You will have the Laravel collective folder. If you do not have the Laravel collective folders in the vendors folder and things do not work out, remove the you can remove the form elements from the page, and which we will discuss how you can create into the later stage. So this will be the final version of your application. For example, in this case, we have removed the form method, form attributes from the page, and the rest is without the CSS. That means we have not specified the CSS. Only HTML is displayed in very simple manner. So the first thing we specified that we will list it in the heading elements of the table, the bank, the amount, the country, the actions, and we have specified two default values, and the rest is displayed as it is. So that is the end of today's lecture, and if you want to explore more about the topic, you can read the chapter 5 of this recommended book, or you can ask any questions if you have. Thank you very much.